Never buy a mattress off of Craigslist. My wife and I had the same mattress since we've been married. It's lumpy, dips horribly in the middle, and isn't large enough now that our daughter sleeps on it with us. I know that's dangerous and not recommended at all, but when you go 6 straight months without more than an hour of sleep at a time, you eventually cave in. With that being said, I'm always on the lookout for a good deal on a king-size mattress, and yesterday I found one. $125 for a new set, and not a cheap one either. Incredible, right? I thought so too, so I called up the guy and asked if it was still available. You know how sometimes they advertise something really cheap because it doesn't exist. To my surprise, it was, so I set up for my wife and daughter to go and take a look at 5 PM. I would have rather just gone myself instead of dragging my cranky daughter all the way into downtown, but my wife is pretty particular about the firmness of the mattress, so I had to make sure that it was comfortable for her. Brian, the guy selling the mattress, said to call when we were on our way, so he would know when to meet us at the storage site. I called, but it went to voicemail, so I left one and also texted him to let him know that we were on our way. The whole drive there, my wife and I are chatting happily about how great it will be to finally have a new mattress and have our own space in the bed once again. My daughter likes to sleep at a bit of a diagonal so that her hands are touching mummy's shoulder and her feet are touching my leg. And it's very sweet and cute, but also incredibly uncomfortable because I have to sleep on the knife's edge of the bed in order to not crush anyone. Dads out there, I'm sure you can relate. Fortunately, the traffic isn't yet too bad, so we make it right on time. I hate being late to appointments. It's just so unprofessional and inconsiderate, you know. I get out of the car and unstrap my daughter so that she can enjoy the cool breeze and point to all the new things she sees while we wait for Brian to arrive. After about 15 minutes, I walk into the office of the storage facility and ask to see if Brian maybe works there or if the receptionist knows anything about him. She told me that he works for a home staging company for when people try to sell their homes. This is why we can buy the mattress so cheap. It is unpackaged and set up so that they can resell it in a store. She assured me that he was a great guy and was probably just running late due to traffic. I was glad that I talked to her because I was still having a few doubts about why the mattress was so cheap. But his line of work made a lot of sense. My daughter and I walked around some more, singing songs and feeling the brick wall of the building and the nylon threads of the American flag swaying in the breeze. She's a very happy, sweet girl and loves to feel new things, so I didn't notice how much time had passed until my wife popped out of the car and asked what was going on. 40 minutes had passed. This guy was ridiculously late. I handed off my daughter so that I could call him up and see what the deal was.
This is Brian.
Yeah, hi, this is Stephen. We had a 5 PM meeting to look at a mattress. Where you at, buddy?
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm 30 minutes away. I'll be there soon.
Now, as you know, I hate being late. I also hate when others are late. Seriously, it's 5:35 PM and we agreed to meet at 5 PM, Brian. Don't bother, we're leaving.
I told you to call me when you were leaving, so that I knew you were coming. This is the first time you're calling me, so now I'm coming. Just wait, I'm coming now.
What? Look, Brian, I called you when we left our house and left you a voicemail. I texted you to let you know that we were on the highway. We agreed to meet at 5 PM and you stood us up. I dragged my daughter and my wife out here for no reason, and now we have to fight traffic to get back home. Thank you for wasting our time. I hung up before he could get another word in. I was furious. Who sets a time to meet, but then doesn't show up until the person calls? Clearly this guy wasn't a real businessman. He called me right back, but I ignored it. We needed dinner and showers. We had routines to follow, or this baby was going to be up all night. He texted me right after trying to justify his reasoning, telling me that I was foolish for not wanting to wait around to save so much money on a $1,000 mattress. Obviously this guy didn't have kids. I added his number to my spam list so that I wouldn't get any more calls or texts from him, and apologized to my wife for wasting our evening. I work 2 jobs to make enough for the bills, and we don't have much time together as a family. I feel like a bit of a failure, but my wife always reassures me, thanking me for working so hard. Still, I can't shake the sadness that I feel when I come home late and barely get to spend any time with them, so I was extra frustrated with Brian for wasting one of my only free evenings. Of course, traffic was awful heading back out of downtown, and there were 2 car accidents, because why not add insult to injury? My daughter was starting to get fussy, so I was singing all her favorite songs and making silly faces to keep her occupied. It took over an hour to get home, but once we hit the driveway, everything was forgotten and we all smiled. Home at last. We went through our normal routine of dinner and bath time, and instead of turning on the television, I just played with my daughter until she was ready for bed. It was a nice change of pace. I can't believe how big she's getting. The alarm went off far too early for my liking, but I got up and did my best to crawl out of the dip in the bed without arousing anyone else. Got dressed, packed a lunch, ate a quick breakfast, and was off to work. The day was pretty uneventful, which was nice because I couldn't keep my eyes open easily. Normally, I get a few calls from my wife during the day and at least one picture showing our daughter doing something silly or new, but I didn't get any of that today. I knew they had a few plans to go to the petting zoo and story time at the library, so I didn't think much of it, although I did miss my daily picture. Wednesday is always a special day because it's food pantry day. At first, we were just embarrassed, but we tried to make the best of it by guessing what desserts they will give us. The generosity of people in our area is so amazing. They donate all organic foods, even organic meat. I usually make it home before my wife is done at the pantry, so I tidy up the house and get ready to go out and grab all the bags full of food. I kicked off my work boots and put my lunch bag away, cleaning up a few dishes in the sink and washing down my daughter's high chair tray. As I headed into the bedroom to change into more comfortable clothes, I stopped dead in my tracks. There, in place of our small, lumpy bed, was the king-sized mattress on a simple bed frame. It even had sheets on it, nice ones actually. A few tears gathered at each eye because I realized why my wife never called me today. She was busy surprising me with a new bed. She must have found Brian's ad on Craigslist and went up to meet him on her own while I was at work. What a wonderful woman she is. On the bed was a small white card. I rushed over to it, flopping onto the bed and taking the card in my hand to read.
Dear Stephen, I hope you like the mattress. Don't worry about the payments. I already took what I needed. Brian.
What the hell? I sprung up off of the bed and went to my phone, calling my wife. No answer. No problem. She's probably wrapping up at the food pantry or driving home. She never answers when she's driving. I waited 15 more minutes before calling again. She's never this late from coming home. 4:15 at the latest, and it was already 4:30. I called again, straight to voicemail. I tried not to panic, tried to not let my imagination run wild, but I couldn't help it. Was she in an accident? Was she stuck in traffic? Please answer. After another 20 minutes and no response from her, I drove over to the food pantry and found the managing volunteer just before they closed up for the night. Hey Terry, was my wife here today? Oh, hi Stephen. No, she never came in today. I was a bit surprised myself, but I thought maybe she finally found a better job and didn't need to come anymore. I drove home much faster than the law or safety would dictate, praying that her car would be in the driveway, but it wasn't. I tried calling one more time with no luck. Sprinting around the house, I searched for anything strange or missing. That is when I noticed the picture frame on our nightstand. The picture was torn down one side, leaving just me. Tears started flowing down my face, coating my phone as I dialed 911. Update. First, thank you all for your concern. The local police and I are doing everything we can to try and locate my family. I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything positive or negative for that matter regarding the case. Secondly, I understand that Craigslist can be shady. I have dealt many times with buying and selling without ever having an issue for many years. Please understand that I'm in a very difficult financial position right now, which is why I even looked around for mattress on Craigslist in the first place. We go to a food pantry every week, so yes, times are tough. I can only do what I can do. So far we are unsure of how Brian found our home or got in. There were no signs of a forced entry, and no record of anyone calling or texting my wife, or calling or texting anyone over the course of the day, outside of actual contacts saved to her phone. She received no emails either. Our neighbours did not notice a moving truck or anything similar come by during the day, but obviously something had to have come by. Still no idea about that either. Update. The police have put out my wife and daughter's pictures to try and get the word out. I went up to the storage facility to try and talk to the receptionist, but it was a new woman today. She looked up storage units owned by a Brian, and there was not a single unit. Can you believe that? Over 1,400 units, and not a single Brian. I mean, it's a common name. I feel like something is getting covered up, so I'm coming back later to snoop around on my own. I also unblocked the number and tried to call, but all I get is a disconnected number message. The police are trying to track it to a house or a business, but they aren't telling me much, which worries me more than anything else. Oh, and since so many of you have mentioned my family being in the mattress, the police took the mattress as evidence. They checked it inside and out for clues. They are not inside it. I can guarantee you that. For those asking for some proof, since the police took most of it, I only had a chance to snap a picture of the note and the torn picture. This is the picture and the note that you see on the screen now. So, like I said, I unblocked Brian's number and tried to get in touch with him again, but he said it was disconnected. Of course, I gave the number to the police to try and track, but I have yet to hear any news from them, which is incredibly discouraging. They say you only have 48 hours to find a missing person, and I'm approaching that number very quickly. I just can't lose my family. My wife is the sweetest, most loving and wonderful mother to our beautiful, vibrant daughter. I remember when she was born, and sorry, I've been thinking a lot about that night. I guess it's the only thing that's pushing me on. I have to find my family. One of the comments mentioned checking my car for a tracking device. Don't know why I didn't think of it before, so I went out last night before I went to work, and after a few minutes of checking, I did find something under the rear bumper on my exhaust pipe. I don't know if it's a tracking device or what, but I turned it into the police on my way to work. Why didn't they think to check my car? Anyway, I didn't really feel like working much, and I was distracted and exhausted. My boss told me to take a few nights off, paid, to clear my head. I couldn't believe it, not because it's out of the ordinary, but he's just a hard ass most of the time, and I didn't think he had a soft spot on him. I took full advantage of it by heading back to the storage site to see if I could find anything. Like I mentioned in my first post, I work 2 jobs, one being warehouse stocking overnight, and during the day, I work for a home security company called Vivint, installing and servicing home systems. One of the neat things we offer is a camera that you can access from anywhere in the world and watch a live stream. Most people use it as a nanny cam or to see what their pets do while they're gone, but I had a great idea. I'd set one up on the roof, and then I could watch it from my work laptop to see if anyone is moving mattresses around. If I could get a visual on the guy, we could catch him. So I headed up to the site and climbed up the backside of one of the buildings that had the humidity control units. According to the receptionist, they only have 24 of these units, and since they are selling a ton of mattresses, I figured that is a unit they would need to have. There were cameras all over the place, so I couldn't get a perfect angle or see the whole row of units, but I was able to place it in such a way that I could see about 2/3 of them. Not ideal, but better than nothing. The camera is tiny, so I wasn't worried about anyone finding it, and I know it can run for over 6 months on a fresh battery. Since I don't have anywhere to sleep at home, I decided I'd just recline the seat in my car and try to snooze a little while keeping an eye on the footage. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, there is no way Brian is ever coming back to that place. And while I agree with you, what else can I do? I have to have hope, to believe that they are still alive and unhurt. It's the only thing keeping me going. I'm sure you can understand that. I must have actually fallen asleep because the train horn startled me and I jerked up, knocking the laptop off of my lap. The train was moving pretty slowly, even slower than most around here, and there was a van and a few cars waiting at the crossing. It took a moment to remember where I was and rub the sleep out of my eyes. It was 3 a.m. I rewound the footage in triple speed to see if anyone had shown up during the hour and a half that I was laying there. And only 20 minutes before, a passenger van showed up just inside the frame of the camera. It was hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure that it was the receptionist that was there the day that we came to buy the mattress. 2 guys were hauling mattresses out of the back of the van and into one of the units. I started to get excited. I had him. I found him. Then, I got sick to my stomach. From inside of the unit came 5 women, most of them older, but one was pretty young. I couldn't see their faces because of the distance from the camera, but I could see that they were chained together and gagged with something. One of the guys gave something to the receptionist lady, most likely money, and drove off. Wait, I thought, didn't I just see a van? I looked up and the train was gone, the cars that were waiting now far off in the distance. I turned on my car and took off after the fading taillights, praying I'd be able to catch up and hope they hadn't already turned off somewhere. I grabbed my phone and called the police, telling them everything that transpired and where I was and what direction I was heading. They told me to pull over and stop following, but fuck that. I floored it even more and tried to close the distance. Pretty soon, I heard sirens from several different directions, but I had lost sight of the van, or maybe never had sight of it. When I finally caught up to the taillights that I was chasing, they belonged to a Corolla or something. About that time my phone went off. It was the police. They found the van. I drove my way over, only a few blocks east of where I was, hoping for good news. When I got there, they had 2 men in cuffs in the back of a squad car which left soon after. 5 women were laying on gurneys, being tended to by medical staff, but none were my wife or daughter. I was relieved, happy, thankful that they were safe, but also devastated. Where was my family? After interrogation of the men and the women that were saved, it was determined that they would have been sold as slaves, human trafficking. The police are still looking for the family, of course, but they aren't acting very positive about the whole thing. Now, I just left my day job because my boss caught me still watching footage of the unit and told me to just go home. I know it sounds stupid, but what else can I do? I can't eat or sleep or even think without feeling the need to vomit. My family? Slaves? Sold to some freak that will do God knows what to them? My 11-month-old daughter. So beautiful, so innocent. Daddy is going to find you. Update. So far no one has come back to that unit other than police. I watched them drag everything out, sick to my stomach. I watched their cars drive off, full of evidence. Everyone seems to have vanished that was connected to this, aside from the 2 guys that were arrested. They haven't given up any information from what the station is telling me. I don't know why, but I started to browse Craigslist again to see if any new ads were put up similar to the one that I had responded to. I didn't find anything, but I did remember a few stories I'd heard about the deep web, also known as the dark web, and how human trafficking goes down on those sites. I dove headfirst into that awful area of cyberspace, trying to find anything that could help me find my family. The things I found only made me that much sicker and more worried about my family. Who could do such things to fellow human beings? I know we're in a sick, confused world, but I'll just stop there. I don't want to upset anyone by the things I saw. After an hour of searching, I was about to give up when I found something hosted by BMK. I had seen it before and passed it by, but looking at it again jogged my memory. The only reason it stood out to me at all is because of the Craigslist ad. Brian had called himself the Mattress King. It's a pretty standard claim, to be fair, but I didn't think I could pass up an opportunity even if it wasn't him. I responded to it with an old email that I hadn't used since probably high school and got a response almost immediately. $5,000 cash for a female, $4,000 for a male, discounts for age, an address to meet at, and a time. When I plugged in the address, I was surprised to see how close it was to the storage facility. One of your comments from the earlier post was right. They kept operations close. Obviously, I don't have the cash, but I have a gun. What Midwesterner doesn't? I'm on my way right now, and I don't want to be late. Final update. So, as I said, I like being early, and I figured my old pal Brian would be late to this arrangement. I got there an hour ahead of time to scope out the place and find a good spot to take him out. I found a nice loft where I could overlook the big open factory floor. I parked my car a ways away at a thrift store parking lot and walked to it with a guitar case, hiding my .22. I guess they would probably have a few people out front waiting for me to come in, and Brian inside with the lineup of women. Fortunately, I guessed correctly. A total of 6 armed people showed up, 4 taking position somewhere outside. Brian and the receptionist stood inside with 20 women. My heart skipped a beat when I saw my wife among them. I almost cried out right then and there, but I stifled it in time. I took careful aim and busted Brian's knee with the first shot. I'm assuming he went into shock because he dropped and laid there moaning for the entirety of my visit. My next shot took out the receptionist as she ran. The girls started screaming right away, obviously not knowing what was going on. A guy from outside came in, but I was already back outside on my way down. I have never been happier than right then about my granddad forcing me to go hunting every year and earn my dinner. It was paying off. It was then that I called the police. I waited until sirens were nearing before I shot the next 2 guards in the leg. Suffer for your sins. I made my way inside and used one of the guards' handguns to finish Brian and the other guy with him after I let him see my face. I don't think my wife even noticed me until I put my hand on her face. I'm not sure where the last one ran off to, but he didn't bother us as I unlocked the women and hugged my wife. "Where's my baby? Is she okay?" She just shook her head. We cried, oblivious to the police filtering in.